Hey everyone, I hope you guys had a great spring break. Going forward, starting this week, I'm going to be working solely on your STI. So this one is for division. And I know you guys will get your packets on Friday. So since you don't have them now, I'm just going to go over a PowerPoint about what division is, and then we're going to do some examples of long division that you can use as reference to help you going forward until we're back in school. So I'm going to start with our PowerPoint over division. So division just means splitting into equal parts or equal groups. Normally this is the most common division sign, but you'll also see a slash sometimes, or a fraction can also mean division. So these are your three division signs. In division, we have the dividend, which is the amount you want to divide, and the divisor is the number that the dividend is divided by. So your first number is your dividend, your second number is your divisor. The answer is called the quotient. So like right here, the 3 would be the quotient. But when they're not divided equally, you'll have a remainder. So here, our example is there are 7 bones to share with 2 pups. 7 can't be divided into 2 groups. So each pup will get 3 bones, and there'll be 1 left over. So 7 divided by 2 equals 3, with a remainder of 1. The answer in division is called the quotient. So your problem is the dividend divided by divisor equals quotient. So in our example, we have 12 divided by 4 equals 3. 12 is the dividend, 4 is the divisor, and 3 is the quotient. Now when we're doing long division, it's set up like this. So it would be 16 divided by 3. Your dividend, so the first number, goes inside the bracket. The divisor, or the second number, goes outside the bracket. Your answer, or the quotient, goes on top of the bracket. And then your remainder, when we do long division, if it doesn't equal 0, but we can't get it to go into 3, that is your remainder. So in word problems, or any problems, you can identify division as the operation to use when it says divide evenly, cut, split, share, each, every, average, equal pieces, out of, ratio, and quotient. So in this word problem, it says Mandy has 36 cookies and she wants to share them with her friends. She has 6 friends. How many cookies will each friend receive? So we're going to take 36 cookies and divide it by 6 because we have share and each, because those are both terms that involve division. We're going to look at this. So we have 124 divided by 2. So our first number, our dividend, goes inside this bracket. Our second number, or the divisor, goes outside the bracket. and you do 2, can't go into 1, so we move over to the next number. So how many times does 2 go into 12? That's 6. So we put the 6 up here above the last number that we're dividing by. 6 times 2 is 12. So we subtract our top number from our bottom number, which is 0, and we bring down the next number. So now we need to see how many times 2 goes into 4. 2 goes into 4 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4, which gives us a remainder of 0. So our answer to 124 divided by 2 is 62. All right, so that is your PowerPoint that I had for you. So now we're going to look at some division problems. So our first, we have 558 divided by 9. So we see how many times 9, it doesn't go into 5, so we need to move over. So we see how many times 9 goes into 55. Nine times 6 is the closest we can get to 55 without going over. And 9 times 6 is 54. So we're going to write down 54. And we need to subtract 55 from 54. And 55 minus 54 is 1. So the next thing we do is we're going to bring down our next number, which is our 8. So now we need to see how many times 9 goes into 18. 9 goes into 18 2 times. 2 times 9 is 18. And then we're going to subtract. 18 minus 18 is 0. Moving on to our next problem. We need to see 86 divided by 3. So the first thing we're going to do is see how many times 3 goes into 8. The closest we can get to 8 without going over is 3 times 2. 3 times 2 is 6. So we're going to put our 6 down here. And then we're going to subtract. 8 minus 6 is 2. And we're going to move over here. We're going to bring our next number down. So our new number now that we're going to divide by is 26. So 3 goes into 26. The closest we can get is 8 without going over. 3 times 8 is 24. So now we're going to do 26 minus 24, which is 2. We don't have another number left to multiply by, so our remainder is 2. So the way you write a remainder is you write R. Does not look like an R. Remainder. Remainder 2. So our answer to 86 divided by 3 is 28 remainder 2. Our next problem, we have 143 divided by 5. So 5 can't go into 1, so we move over. We see how many times 5 can go into 14. 5 can go into 14 2 times without going over. 2 times 5 is 10. So we're going to do 14 minus 10. And 14 minus 10 is 4. We're going to move over. Now we need to bring down our next number. So now we have 43. So we need to see how many times 5 can go into 43 without going over. 5 times 8 is as close to 43 as we can get without going over. 8 times 5 is 40. Now we're going to subtract. We have 43 minus 40, which is 3. Three doesn't go into 5, so we're going to write our remainder. So our answer to 143 divided by 5 is 28 remainder 3. Our next problem, we have 235 divided by 6. 6 can't go into 2, so we move over a number and see how many times 6 can go into 23 without going over. 6 times 3 is the closest we can get without going over. 6 times 3 is 18. So we're going to put our 18 under our 23. And we're going to subtract. 23 minus 18 is 5. We're going to bring down our next number, which is 5. So we need to see how many times 6 now goes into 55. The closest we can get is 9. Nine times 6 is 54. And we're going to subtract. 55 minus 54 is 1. 1 doesn't go into 6, so we're going to write our R for our remainder. So the answer to 235 divided by 6 is 39 remainder 1. Over here, we have 552 divided by 8. 8 doesn't go into 5, so we have to see how many times 8 goes into 55. The closest we can get to 55 without going over would be 6. 6 times 8 is 48. And then we have to subtract 48 from 55. So 55 minus 48 is 7. I'm going to bring down our next number, which is a 2. And now we need to see how many times 8 goes into 72 without going over. 8 goes in to 72 9 times without going over. And 8 times 9 is 72. 72 minus 72 is 0, so we don't have a remainder. So 552 divided by 8 is 69. Our next problem, we have 70 divided by 7. So we start with the 7. 7 goes into 7 one time without going over. 1 times 7 is 7. So now we're going to subtract 7 minus 7, which is 0. And we're going to bring down our next number. Okay, now we have 2 zeros, but we still have to divide by this number. So 7 times 0 equals 0. So 0 times 7 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. And our answer to 70 divided by 7 is 10. Down here, we have 77 divided by 5. So the first thing we're going to do is see how many times 5 goes into 7 without going over, and that is 1. 1 times 5 is 5. And then we subtract. 7 minus 5 is 2. And we move over to our next number. We bring down our 7. Now we need to see how many times 5 goes into 27 without going over. And that is 5. 5 times 5 is 25. So we have 27 minus 25, which is 2. 2 can't go into 5, and we don't have any more numbers to bring down. So our answer, we have to add our remainder, 2. So 77 divided by 5 is 15 remainder 2. Our next problem is 639 divided by 9. We start with our first number. 9 can't go into 6, so we move over and see how many times 9 can go into 63. So that is 7. 7 times 9 is 63. So we're going to put our 63 here. And we're going to subtract. 63 minus 63 is 0. And then we're going to bring down our next number, which is 9. We have to see now how many times 9 will go into 9 without going over, which is 1 time. 1 times 9 is 9. And we're going to subtract. We have 9 minus 9, which is 0. So our answer to 639 divided by 9 is 71. Our last problem, we have 475 divided by 5. So the first thing we need to do, 5 can't go into 4, so we're going to move over and see how many times 5 will go into 47. 5 can go into 47 9 times without going over. 9 times 5 is 45. 47 minus 45 is 2. Now we're going to bring down our next number. So now we have 25. So we need to see how many times 5 will go into 25 without going over, and that is 5. 5 times 5 is 25. And we're going to subtract. 25 minus 25 is 0. So our answer to 475 divided by 5 is 95. This is where I'm going to go ahead and stop for today. Next week, we will have our packets and we'll be able to go more in depth with some of those examples. If you have any questions in the meantime, you can email me. And I hope you guys have a great week.